A lot of you guys have asked me to play devil's advocate, and Roni, tell us something positive that you believe could come to Halo Infinite. So here I am. I've done an absolute abundance of posting on social media via videos and on Twitter about my skepticism regarding Infinite. So let me just suspend that for one video, or maybe a few videos depending on how I'm feeling. And let's just talk about some good things that could come to Halo Infinite. So, in my opinion, if the Slipspace engine is as comprehensive as it's made out to be, we might actually see that middle point between classic and enhanced mobility mechanics. We might have two different ways to play in the game. So what do I really mean by this? Well, you might have seen that Faven, in his latest commentary, talked about 343 needing to pick a side. That he doesn't believe that both mechanics could work in the same game, nor should they choose to include both mechanics. They already have really picked a side, Faven. It's enhanced mobility. Now we need to fight tooth and nail, in my opinion, to get classic mechanics back into the game in some shape or form. Whether it's in the form of custom options, a classic set of playlists including fan favourite maps, or otherwise. Either they are working on this behind the scenes because they've realised that this time they need to cater for their entire audience, because look at the art style, it is a lot more classic. So hopefully they will have realised that the classic members of the community really do have some kind of point. We've been making a point for years that we want the older historic way to play the game as well as the new way of playing the game. I personally would not have a problem with both of these mechanics being in the game, as long as they were supported properly and as long as the maps were scaled efficiently for both of those mechanics. It can be done. They have an extra year dev time now. This can definitely be done. Even 6 or 7 or 8 maps for us. It can be done. Okay? Anyone out there saying that it can't be done? BS. This is meant to be a 10-year Halo experience. It can be done. Okay? I see no other way really of pleasing the audience. We can't have the game revert to a non-sprint game without abilities. It's not going to happen, despite my agreement that Halo is unique enough to survive in the current game climate with its historic mechanics. The golden triangle of weapons, grenades, melee, with no sprint or clambering or sliding still works. But if we need to concede that now there are two methods of playing Halo, hey man, so be it. There's optimism and there's realism, and I tend to lean towards the latter. I've been called all sorts of names and belittled for daring to say that the newer players have shunned the older ones. We just want the game to feel the way that we enjoy. You know, like we enjoy playing the game in a more classic way, and as paying customers, we have every right to voice that concern. Although Game Pass and free-to-play multiplayer may actually throw a spanner in the works on this point, they could just take whatever stance they want to and develop the game the way that they see fit. And if that is the case, then I'm here to tell you, ladies and gents, that the classic Halo dream is over. And you just got to stick with MCC. Now, to the positive things that I certainly hope that Halo Infinite can deliver upon. So, Halo Infinite, and you know the logic for having tons of map remasters, it makes perfect sense. You know, if this is going to be a 10-year game, logically it actually does make sense. Arash was talking about this, having tons of map remasters in the game. And he went through all the different titles that he loved, the Halo titles that he loved, and the maps that he loved within those titles. I think that makes perfect sense. It's an absolute risk-free endeavour. You add in maps that people have enjoyed in the past, and you've essentially made certain that those nostalgic feelings rush back to people, even with newer gameplay mechanics. This is something needed. It's necessary. This is something popular and something positive that I think Halo Infinite might bring. We could have every single map ever seen in a Halo game within one Halo game. For better or for worse for some maps, that's still exciting. I'd love to see the popular 4v4 maps and big team battle maps make their way back in, but due to this grapple hook, I'd like for me to, and for 343, to pick ones that have less verticality to mess around with, so that this new equipment won't mess with the overall flow. It may still mess with flow, but you know, maps like the Pit, Guardian, Valhalla, Battle Creek, Avalanche, Icebox from El Dorado, Midship, Onslaught, Sandtrap, Rat's Nest, Standoff and Narrows. These maps would be great to see a return to the game, right? But I really can't see the grappling hook breaking the gameplay here too much in those games, in those maps, excuse me. So yeah, maybe some plays could be made, but nothing too crazy, and that's the point. You know, it shouldn't be a game-winning ability. There is a distinct advantage to this new equipment that we saw in the gameplay reveal, and how that is balanced in multiplayer will matter a lot. So on to story. This is something I don't talk about a lot. I can start moving towards talking about it a little bit more if you guys want, but my first modus operandus is making sure that the classic Halo community is listened to in some way. But I actually love the expanded universe. You'd never know. You really didn't. I've done maybe 3 videos in my entire commentating career. I'm doing that in bunny years. Do I call it a career? Maybe my commentating history on the expanded universe. But I still love it. Halo has a rich universe that feels like the perfect mix between Aliens, Starship Troopers, and The Thing to me. All movies of which I'd highly recommend, by the way, as an aside. So what could or should 343 do with Infinite in this regard? First off, finish the Forerunner trilogy. Just do it. Show us some resolution and start moving away from Chief. There are other characters in this universe that can hold their own in terms of being interesting antagonists and protagonists. I'm not against the Banished being in the game, by the way. I'm sorely in need to fight something other than Prometheans. I don't enjoy how they play, and they're not interesting in the slightest. Their phasing in and out is lazy, and I'm not a fan. So the Banished, big thumbs up for me. But a more melee-centric version of the Covenant, even though it seems cool, I think that they still need to introduce them properly. I haven't played Halo Wars 2. I'm going to play Halo Wars 2 because I have a good year now to get up to date on that. But still, they need to have some kind of intro cinematic on who are the Banished, where is Cortana, how does all this fit together. I think they will do this, and I think that this is something positive, that we're going to have a tangible, new, just amazingly brutish, if you will, enemy to deal with. And that's good. That's good, man. I'm happy about that. No Prometheans. You know, they're phasing in and out. It's just lazy. I'm not a fan of that. More melee-centric version of the Covenant. It just seems cool. And as long as we have a mix between ranged and melee enemies and a return of the Flood, I think you need to do that, 343. I'm down for 343 to add the Banished into the game. For PvE, diversity is more is better. But not too much. Stimulate, don't annihilate. In regards to stories, I'd like to see come in as free DLCs to Infinite. Because, if you're going to go free to play, then Microsoft better put money into this. Ghost of Onyx is what I want to see. Imagine a year or less after the release getting told we're getting 12 to 14 hour DLCs of expanded universe novels brought to life in Halo Infinite. How cool would that be? Man, that would be really cool. Now that I get to say it out loud, actually, they'd maybe be better off charging for this, as this would guarantee, some kind of outrage if they don't deliver. So we got to hold them accountable. Maybe these should be paid DLCs, but if they're not and they're done really well, all power to them. So imagine seeing something like Contact Harvest and playing as Johnson, as a Spartan 1, in the first encounter with the Covenant. Imagine even playing against insurrectionists as well. This is where I think that if they brought both enhanced and classic mechanics, they could create these diverse, dynamic stories from the expanded universe. They could bring it all together, make it feel real, believable, and then let the community as a whole decide, actually, we prefer sprint, or actually, we don't prefer sprint. We prefer abilities. Actually, we don't prefer abilities. Or we like not having sprint, and we like some of these abilities / customization / equipment options. This really give us a sandbox, just like Bungie did. And I think that if the Slipspace engine is what they're trying to make it out to be, it could even be. Hell, man, I'd even like to see Covenant stories. Imagine the Grunt Rebellion playing as the original Arbiter, or the Rebellion of Atriox playing as a Brute. That'd be fun as fuck to play through. If the technology is there, challenge yourselves 343 and use it. So for now, that's enough. I'm not the overwhelmingly negative Nelly people make me out to be. I prefer just to be a bit more skeptical and passionate in regards to the more classic centered community, given the recent track history of the franchise. But honestly, let me know what you think of my list. What do you guys want to see in the game? What do you think is something positive that they've already done for Halo Infinite? And what's something positive that you believe will make it into the game? Alright guys, make sure to leave a rating and sub up if you enjoyed or are new here. See you next time. Kind regards, Roni.